In the last video, we replaced the water pump, put everything back in that we needed for the cooling system, like the radiator and all of the hoses. Ran this metallic, goopy silver stuff through the cooling system, and it actually worked. It actually stopped the leak in the lower radiator hose that we had, so there's no more smoke coming out of there. It still held up even after we drained all of the coolant, flushed the whole cooling system, and refilled it with new coolant. So I'm pretty happy with that. The only problem we have now is this temperature gauge is reading all the way hot even when the engine isn't overheating. So today we're going to figure that out, as well as a couple other electrical things. To get access to this coolant temperature gauge, first we need to take out the stereo, which is just kind of bolted on here with this metal strapping. The wiring, as you can see, is a huge mess too, so we might as well get this cleaned up while we're getting everything out of there. So I've been stuck trying to get this radio out for a while now. It's not coming out. As you can see, the wiring is, pretty messed up. Things were just electrical taped together. Wires were going to the wrong color. We've got these weird little built-in fuse connectors. So I'm trying to figure out this wiring, where all this is going, and trying to get this out. And victory. Got this panel out. So now we can start looking at this gauge. I don't know if you can see it, but as I was pulling this gauge out, something sparked and smoked a little bit. So I think I just burnt that clock out. That's great. So you can see right there where it shorted out and burnt through this little bit. So we might need a new one of these. I wonder if maybe this was the problem, why the gauge wasn't working. I mean, the rest of it looks fine. It looks like it's just this part that burnt, and I'm not sure why. Like, there's nothing really in here that it could have touched. I don't know. I do a couple tests with my multimeter on this printed circuit. There's just a couple tests in the shop manual. So that says that the printed circuit is probably okay, aside from obviously this part that totally melted, so I'm going to replace it anyway. But I don't think that's the problem with this gauge. So I'm pretty sure it's the gauge. So I'm just going to go ahead and replace that, and hopefully that fixes it. I got the new temperature gauge in, but before I put it in the car, I just want to test out this old one and the new one to see if the gauge was actually the problem. So this jumble of wires might look a little complicated, but basically all it is a potentiometer or a variable resistor, so I can change the resistance. And then looking at this chart, I can see where the temperature gauge should be. So that's how it works in the car, is the temperature sender changes the resistance depending on how hot the coolant is, and that's how the gauge knows how hot the car is. So this first test was good. At 1,350 ohms, it should be reading 40 degrees Celsius. The resistance isn't quite at 1350. This is just as high as the resistor would go, but it's pretty close, and the temperature gauge is reading correctly. So here I'm just changing the resistance value to roughly 93.5 ohms, as the chart says, and that should be reading 100 degrees Celsius. But when I connect the ground, you can see that the needle goes all the way to the top. So even though the temperature is 100 degrees, and that's what the resistance is saying it should be, the gauge itself is saying it's way too hot. Here I'm just turning the knob on the potentiometer, and you can see the gauge goes through the entire range that it needs. It's just at a certain resistance value, it's not showing correctly on the gauge. So that tells me this gauge is bad. I do the same tests on the new gauge, and while it's slightly off, it's a lot better. It should be reading about 210 Fahrenheit right now. It is a little bit higher, but at least it's not all the way hot. So I'm hoping at least it's a little more accurate and I can tell if my car is actually overheating or not. While I've got everything set up, I test the other 3 gauges as well, and they all seem good. Now, since we burned through this clock wire here while I was removing this, I ordered a new one of these. Just making sure everything looks right. I mean, it does look like a tiny bit different. You know, it's kind of got an angle here instead of this smooth one. But as long as all the connections are right, then we should be okay. So I guess I'll just go through one by one, make sure they all go to the right spot. And if they do, then I'll replace this old burnt out one with this one. We've got our new gauge in there. Looks a little out of place. The nice shiny white and blue one compared to all these sun faded ones. But at least it should work. And then we'll clean this up a little bit, put it back in the car. Now I'm hoping there's not something wrong with the clock that caused it to burn through here, because that would suck if I put this brand new one in and it just did the same thing. I'm not really sure what caused it. It was when I was taking the gauge out, it was fine. The battery was connected, and when I pulled it out and kind of moved it, it shorted out somehow. But you can even see where it burnt on here. Now, I don't immediately see anything wrong with the clock that would have caused it to short out. Everything seems okay, and it was working before I took it out of the car. So I'm gonna try to just put this back in and hope I don't destroy this new circuit board. If I do, no big deal, I can order another one, but I'm hoping there's nothing wrong with that clock. So now let's clean up this housing a little bit, put everything back together, and then we can test it. Now, this is all cleaned up. I even tried to polish this a little bit with this plastic cleaner and polish. I don't think it really made too big of a difference, but oh well. Now we just need to put all the gauges back, all the lights back, put on the new circuit board, and test it out. Now it doesn't fit completely perfect, it doesn't lay totally flat in a couple spots, but you know, it even has that little cutout so it can go around here, same as the original one. All the holes seem to line up. Okay, battery's connected. I don't hear any smoke, which is good. The clock is working. I'll turn the ignition on. So fuel and voltage both seem to be working. Obviously the car's not on right now, so it's not registering the oil pressure or the coolant temperature. But it did go up. I just saw that go down a little bit. And that one's jumping up. So I think they're good. The only question is that coolant one fixed? Another issue that this car has is neither of the turn signals work. The arrows don't come on, the lights don't come on, the front lights, the rear lights, nothing works at all. So I bought a new turn signal switch. I thought that was the problem. It was pretty cheap, so I just ordered one. It seems like a common issue, but that's not what it ended up being. Alright, I've been out here for hours testing this, using the multimeter, hooking up the new switch, testing where voltage was coming in, trying to find a short, going through everything, replaced the flasher, and it was just this one fuse. And I checked the fuse and it looks fine. So I thought it was good, put it back in, kept testing. I don't know what's wrong with it, but it wasn't getting voltage from one side to the other. Didn't check that for some reason. so I wasted all that time. But you can see now when you turn the switch on, indicators come on, and it seems to work. It's blinking pretty fast. I don't know if that's normal or not. So now I'm gonna try to hook up the old switch again, which might be a pain because I destroyed the connector. And hopefully that switch is okay, because I don't really want to take apart this whole steering wheel and column and fish this whole wire down through there. I watched a video on it. It looks like a bit of a pain in the ass, so if I can get away with not replacing it, that would be great. So I got the old plug back in, just barely. It's, totally broken apart. There's not much holding that dark blue wire in there. The rest seem to be okay. I got it so it's just barely working, but if you just move this blue wire even a little bit, well, maybe it's okay. Maybe I'll have to duct tape that or something so it doesn't come apart, but it is working with the old switch. It's just one fuse. If I just replaced that fuse, I would have never broke that connector, would have never had to do any of these tests. Oh well. Alright, so just put a bunch of super glue on there, and hopefully that holds it. I'm mostly worried about that dark blue wire, because there's nothing really holding it in. I just wedged that plastic piece trying to hold it, and super glued it together. So we'll see if that lasts. We might need to put that new switch in, or at least cut off this connector and put a new one on. We'll see. For now it works. Alright, now for the moment of truth. See if that temperature gauge works and if any of this was worth it. Maybe I should connect the battery first. Something's not quite right. So it's up to temperature, like the engine is warm, the hoses are warm, radiator, it's hot, engine's hot. It should be up to temperature. Definitely not less than 40 degrees. When I test the resistance, so I've got the red lead onto the sender there, and if I just touch this to ground, the resistance of that sender is about 300 ohms, which, looking at the chart, sounds a bit high. Should be closer to 90 when it's at operating temperature. So I'm wondering if maybe there's an air pocket in there or something. Coolant isn't getting to the sensor. So I'm wondering if I just crack it open a little bit. We're probably gonna spray hot coolant a little bit, but maybe I could just let a little bit of air out and tighten it back up. Maybe that would help. I've already replaced the sensor twice actually. I thought I maybe burnt it out or something, or there was a problem with it, or I got the wrong one. And I kind of had some trouble where there wasn't coolant getting to it, and the engine was overheating a little bit. I didn't really film any of that, but that happened. So I'm going to try that and see if that helps. It's a bit hard to see, you probably can't see it, but just gonna carefully loosen this a bit. Still not seeing any coolant coming out. I don't want this to spray my face. Maybe I should put some safety glasses on. Okay, I'm hearing a little bit of bubbling. Okay. So coolant is spraying out a little bit there. Oop. Okay, well, that should be any air out now. Let's see if the resistance changed at all. Now we're at 400. So I'm wondering if there's some air trapped in here, because this is warm, but you know, not super warm. This is hot over here. So I think there's coolant about up to here, hot coolant, and then this is air. Squeezing it doesn't really help. I was hoping the air would escape out of here. I might try to let a little bit of air out of here without burning myself. Oop. I can definitely tell now that this is just air. Okay, what I'm gonna try to do now is run it with this cap open to see if we can bleed any air out of the system. And hopefully that works. Definitely getting pressure now. It's also a very sudsy, foamy. I don't think it is, but I just want to make sure that's not oil in there. No, the oil looks clean. At least we know the coolant's full. There's no air bubbles in there. So, I don't know, maybe we just put the cap back on and keep running it. I'm not sure why the temperature's not going up. I try using various methods to get the coolant above the radiator using this funnel. It would be a lot easier with a no-spill funnel, but I didn't have one, so tried a couple things. Finally got it to work with a cut-up milk jug and some rubber to seal it off and some tape. It didn't work great, but it worked a little bit. I think I got... Oh yeah, like I can even tell that's a lot firmer than it used to be. And I'm not hearing any sloshing. Maybe a little bit. Okay, so we got the cooling system a little bit figured out. We've definitely got some more pressure in here. Like I can barely squeeze this anymore. Before I could easily squeeze it. There was for sure air in there. So I think I've got all the air out of the system now, which is good. The temperature gauge is still reading low, about just over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which at operating temperature, it should be around 190. So I'm thinking maybe there's something wrong with the sending unit, which it's a brand new one in there. I have this old one, which isn't the original one that was in there. I replaced it the first time the gauge wasn't working with this one. It was working for a while, I think, but you know, I drained the coolant, filled it up with coolant flush, filled up with water, drained it multiple times, drove it multiple times during that time. So I'm not quite sure what unit was working or if it was ever working or what happened. So this is a brand new one, and then I swapped it with another brand new one. And I'm wondering if maybe something is still wrong with that. When I measured the resistance of it, it's about 400 ohms, which sounds about right. It should be reading a low temperature at that resistance. At operating temperature, it should be around 93 ohms, which I'm not getting that reading. So maybe I'll try replacing it with this one again, seeing if it helps. The other thing it might be is the thermostat that I just put in. It's a brand new thermostat. It should open at 190 degrees. So I don't think that's the problem, but you never know, it could be. Either way, for now I'm just going to call it good. The cooling system is good. It's not overheating. It can drive. There's no leaks. The coolant was pretty dirty. Here's some coolant I pulled out, but you can see it's, we definitely didn't flush it out super well. I'm guessing it's because we couldn't get to that drain plug, so I just used the rear or the lower hose to drain it. So I don't think I drained all of it, and it was still mixing with the old coolant. So we'll start working on some other things, but for now I'm going to leave this cooling system alone, I think, and just call it good enough for now.